Hey guys, welcome back to the Another Excuse podcast. I'm your host, Byron Greeley, and today's guest is Nick Daniels. Nick is a familiar face on the Another Excuse podcast. We've had a few conversations over the last year or two, and today's episode, we decided to do something a bit different. It's kind of a recap episode and a reflection on what we've learned through our personal development and personal growth journeys. We reflect on a few prompts and questions and come up with a few tangible bits of advice, ideas, tips, and tools that we've sort of accumulated and use in our day-to-day lives. I hope this episode is useful to you. Let me know if you like this format. I can do it with a few more people in my network. And let me know if you found it useful. Leave a comment below if you've learned anything from this episode. I got a few great tips from Nick, and hopefully you got some from me. Enjoy the show. Hey Nick, how's it going? It's been a while, and I thought I'd just introduce what we're going to do today. You reached out and thought it'd be a good idea to do sort of like a 2024 recap, kind of check in, see what we've learned, where we've come from, highlights, things like that. And I thought that was a great idea. It's a great way to catch up because we haven't chatted in a while. So I think this will be awesome. So yeah, thanks for initiating it.
100%, Byron. It's always great to see you. I love the journey that we're both on. Very similar in the sense that we're both trying to build brands here. And I think it's great because we both also listen to similar podcasts and there's certain things that we can chat about. And I feel like, a check-in every now and again is really necessary and awesome because I can learn so much from you. So yeah, thanks for having me on, and let's get cracking.
Awesome. Yeah, I can learn so much from you too. So just to intro the kind of new format we're trialing here, we took inspiration from Chris Williamson's podcast, Modern Wisdom. He did a recap with like 4 friends in December time. It was like a Christmas recap where they just went through like life hacks, things they've learned, things like that. We're going to try follow the same format and answer the questions and see how it goes. So to dive right in, I think we'll both start with answering the first question, which is like, what is a simple but game-changing life hack that you've discovered this last year?
So I thought about this, and to be honestly, it's one of the most simple ones that anyone can do, and it's just worked wonders for me because in my life at the moment in Vietnam, it's quite chaotic in terms of noise pollution. There's a lot of like stuff that goes on, so I don't get a lot of time to sit on the tube in London and listen to podcasts. Like when you go on those long commutes, you have time to like digest information and it's quiet and you're kind of in your own world. So I struggle with that. So what my life hack would be is that as soon as I get home now, I chuck my AirPods in and I put on a podcast, because when I get home, I'm usually getting ready for the next day, or I'm hanging up my washing, or I'm cleaning the house, or I'm just doing something. And by just having someone talking in your ears and doing the mundane life admin chores, I've just found it super effective that it's almost like you're doing something therapeutic and you're just absorbing the information. So that's been a massive game changer for me in terms of giving me access to absorb information, also allowing me to consume podcasts, which I am limited because of time constraints. And it's habit stacking as well. You're doing more than one thing at once. So for me personally, AirPods in as soon as you get home, no matter what you're doing around the house, and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's my one.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. I now that I'm like moving to Dubai and stuff, I've noticed that I've been listening to podcasts less, and it's made me realize that there's actually a balance to it. Like in London with, like you said, with the commute, and when I listen to podcasts at the gym, which some people find absolutely insane. But uh, I I found that I
I
was like,
Pardon? Yeah.
Sorry, I also do that sometimes. Sorry, Kara.
Yeah, I do it every time. Like I don't listen to
Yeah.
music like ever, which people find really crazy. But I found like I was over consuming because I was listening to like every single episode that was released of like 4 or 5 different podcasts. And although I listen at like 2x speed, it's still like just listening a lot and there's not as much doing. Although it is in like my sort of like free time, or like in my commute when it's like really like time you can't use that productively. I've found that I'm now listening to podcasts less after being in Dubai and not having as much time to listen to them. And I think I found a middle ground where I'm trying to take action, if you will, more frequently than not popping on a podcast. So like if I got inspiration or an idea from, say, an episode I listened to at the gym, uh, if I'm on the bus or on the train, I may be prompting ChatGPT to come up with ideas or refine my thoughts or write a new content post and something like that. So it's like, and now I'm using it as a combination of like taking action and getting inspiration instead of just sitting there feeling like I'm being productive and just consuming. Um, so yeah, that's just a thought on yours. And jumping into mine, also keeping it super, super simple, is sleeping with nasal tape. Like, I don't have a deviated septum, I don't think, or any sort of breathing issues that much. But I when I sleep on my left side, my nose kind of gets a little blocked. But when I sleep on my right side, it's fine. So before I use nasal tape, I'd sleep on my right side all the time. That was the way I'd fall asleep. And now with nasal tape, I'm sleeping a lot better. And although I got my Whoop after I started using nasal tape, I really think my sleep improved quite a lot. So yeah, that's a simple
Yeah,
one.
nasal tape. Nasal tape, something I still need to experiment with. And just to touch on what you were saying in regards to my habits and over consuming, I also struggled with that a bit because just like you, I had like 4 or 5 different inputs, like podcasts that I was listening to, again on like 1.5x speed, and it's overstimulating. Nothing really sticks. It's just information in, information out. So what I found also helpful is like I have 3. I focus on Diary of a CEO, Modern Wisdom. I like Chris, and sometimes I alternate. And then I love health and fitness, and I'm really into biohacking. So I listen to The Ultimate Human by Gary Brecker, and he covers quite a lot of health stuff. So, and then I just literally stick to those 3 because I find there's just too much. And the podcasts coming out now are like 2-3 hours. So you can really only consume one a week, you know?
Yeah. And also these guys, like when they write a new book or they want to shout about something, they're doing the podcast circuit. They're going to be on every big podcast.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so you're not really missing out. And if you do listen, what I found when I was over consuming, I was listening to the same guy on like 5 different podcasts, and their message is very similar. Like the conversation deviates slightly depending on the interviewer. Um, so you're not really missing out. It's more finding a preference of like the style of interviewer that you resonate with, and like the sort of tangents of curiosity that they like exploring, and
Yeah.
just yeah, stick to those ones, I think.
Yeah, I know. You're 100%. You're 100% right there. They all do repeat the same thing. So let's dive into question number 2. What's a piece of tech or like an appliance that has had the biggest impact on your daily life in the last year?
So this one's quite a new device, and I just mentioned it. It's my Whoop, but I think it's been a good device for different reasons, than the obvious ones that people might think, and it's it's more just made me more aware of certain metrics and certain things, and aware that like these devices are only so good at the moment. Like the sleep score calculator on the Whoop, I don't think is very accurate, because if I get 8 hours in bed and feel fresh, it's still gonna tell me that I got an 80% sleep score because I didn't spend 10 hours in bed. But if I spend 10 hours just in bed, like dozing in and out, it'll give me a 100% sleep score. And so I think the metrics that it tracks to calculate that score aren't actually that accurate. And I've also found it quite a bit like quite admin, and in this more admin than I actually anticipated, because you've got to track, like you fill in your journal, you got to track every little bit. So you tell it when you're on a flight, you tell it when you've slept in a new bed, like what you ate, how many calories you consumed. Like it's expecting you to do that every day, and I just struggle with that. But just wearing it has made me more health conscious and think about things a little differently. And so I found that really helpful, which is quite funny because like I'm not using all the data as much as I possibly could, but just the fact that it's on my wrist has made me think about things and think about the way I approach like sleep and health and workouts and things like that. So yeah, I think that's the one that's had the biggest impact, although it's not necessarily for diving into all the data.
Yeah. So I've heard, I really want to get a Whoop. You can't get them in Vietnam. And I heard they have a subscription model. And I have like a Garmin, and this is a once off. So you pay $300, and this thing is indestructible. Like it's honestly, I bang it all the time. And with the Whoop, what I like is that it doesn't have a screen. So like, you know, you're not constantly checking notifications. But again, there's especially with sleep, and I stopped doing it on my Garmin. If I wake up in the morning and I look at my sleep and my sleep score is like 67, it's placebo. I don't know what it is, but what it does is it creates like a sense of anxiety, like, oh, I'm not going to be productive today, or I'm under today. And I think by having so much data is obviously super helpful, and like you know, you can check your metrics and stuff, but at the same time, it can be detrimental in terms of mental health, because you know you worry like about all um, these different markers, and like you said, you have to input information when you sleep in a different bed. It's like if 20 years ago we would just go from hotel to hotel, and if you get a good night's sleep, you get a good night's sleep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I still really want one because I am an absolute sucker for data. I love it. But yeah, thanks for sharing that one. I definitely need to get on that.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed with my Whoop is that it's actually better not to wake up and check all your scores. I sort of, because I gym first thing in the morning, I wake up and go to gym without checking my sleep score. And then that gives me a gauge of how good I'm feeling, how well I slept. And then out of interest, once I start work or once I sit at my desk, I can check my sleep stats and see if it correlates with how I'm feeling, which is actually why, like how I noticed that, 10 hours in bed doesn't actually equal 100% sleep score. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I know people struggle with checking their Whoop stats, particularly people that drink, because if you have a big night out, it's saying you have 1% recovery and you're on the verge of death for some people, and that just makes them feel extremely guilty. So people don't wear their Whoops, or they stop wearing their Whoops if they drink relatively frequently. And so yeah, I think it shows you that drinking isn't that great for you, but at the same time, like it just shows that people don't want to be made to feel shit about their health that much. Like they care about it, but if you're feeling shit every single day, it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah. And in terms of my appliance, if it's an appliance, I would say it is air purifier. Like when I say it has the biggest impact on my life, I'm not quite sure. It's not like instant gains, because I don't actually know, but like what it's, you don't see the results straight away. But living in a polluted country, and just when I bought this thing, I cooked a steak, and I've been cooking steaks. I cook twice a week. I eat steaks twice a week. And I saw the air purifier went from basically 2 to 350, and it was in the hazardous zone. And just to give you like some sort of perspective on that, Ho Chi Minh City was the most polluted city in the world about a month ago, and the markers in Ho Chi Minh City were, I think, like 223. And after I cooked the steak in my apartment, they were 360. So that, coupled with non-stick pans, there's been a lot of research that's coming out with heaps of microtoxins. and plastics that actually stay in our body for a number of years, and some don't ever come out. So in terms of appliances, it would be the air purifier, and coupled with get rid of the non-stick pans and get some stainless steel or some cast iron pans. Those are some from me.
Nice. Yeah, air purifiers are great. I know everyone uses them in Dubai, so we're definitely gonna have to get one
Yeah,
when we move over. And
100%.
moving on to the next one, what's been your most effective hack for improving focus and productivity?
Again, a very simple one and accessible to everybody. I recently got an iPhone, but I also could have done it with my Samsung. And that is, they all have a work mode, a personal mode, a sleep mode in the back end that you can utilize. And what you do is you schedule in when you're at work, you schedule in when you are sleeping, and you can even create your own custom ones. And it's obviously so smart these days that you can actually schedule it by location. So for example, I know as soon as I drive into work, my phone switches straight into work mode, and you can customize what it allows you and what it doesn't allow you to see. So for example, when I'm in work mode, my screensaver changes. It literally disables 75% of my apps, and I only have my home screen with, my settings apps, all the apps that you wouldn't really use. The WhatsApp messages, you can choose exactly who you receive messages from. Obviously, if it's people from work, you can allow those to come through. And what it's done is it's obviously connected to your wearable. That's a massive one when you're getting messages and you're constantly. So in terms of productivity and getting things done, this has been a game changer for me. And again, coupled with lo-fi music. So lo-fi, low frequency music has now become a necessity for me to be productive. And I do know, I've trained my brain. It's like the habit loop from Atomic Habits, or the Power of Habit rather. You have a cue that then triggers the habit. And I've now trained my brain that as soon as this lo-fi music comes on, I literally, it's almost instant. I go straight into like a flow state. It's incredible. So I highly recommend, if you, whatever low frequency or lo-fi music or whatever works for you, obviously rock and roll is probably not going to help you concentrate while you're trying to get work done. But I think those two are huge. Get that phone work mode on, and do the same for sleeping. If you want good sleep, 8:30, make sure your phone is programmed to go straight into sleep mode. And lo-fi music, I promise you, it's an absolute game changer. It's calming, and it really helps you zone in. How about yourself?
No, those are great. I'm just curious, how long does it take to like set up the work mode and sleep mode stuff on your phone?
2 minutes.
Okay.
Literally 2 minutes. If you are obviously customizing it, it depends how much you customize it. It took me 2 minutes because it generally has like a default, and all you have to do is put in your time. But then when it comes to who can message you and stuff, it'll take a little bit longer because you just choose the
Yeah.
contacts. Honestly, it takes 2 to 5 minutes, and it's a game changer.
Sweet. Yeah, definitely gonna do that. So mine is kind of in tandem with getting the Whoop, because I used to have a smartwatch, and so like you've touched on, it's connected to your phone. You're constantly getting notifications, and that can actually get really distracting. I thought it was good because I like having my phone on silent, so notifications came through. It wasn't bothering everyone. It wasn't like vibrating on a desk or anything like that. Um, but now that I have my Whoop, the only vibration a Whoop can do is your alarm, which is perfect, which is all I need. I prefer a vibration on my wrist as an alarm because it's a way more subtle way of waking up. I sort of wake up in a panic where if there's some loud noise next to me. Um, and then I focus on 3 big tasks for the day. Um, if you tick those off, and it's the big hairy tasks that you're kind of putting off. You normally know what those are. It's something you may have been putting off for a few days and didn't get around to it, and you're telling yourself you didn't get around to it because you were so busy or you had some other shit to do. But normally, if you tick off 1 or 2 big tasks, the thing that you've been putting off, it moves the needle and makes a lot more progress than the little things that are just sort of trudging along and easy to do. So yeah, those are
Yeah.
my
Awesome. So let's move on to the next one. What is
sweet.
a small, low effort habit that has disproportionately had a big impact on your well-being?
Yeah, we go with like the easy and obvious ones here, but like a lot of people don't actually do them. And by doing this one, it kind of ties into getting way better sleep and just feeling way better. And that's just eating earlier. Like eating dinner,
That's huge.
eating eating dinner like at least 3 hours before going to bed. I know that may sound crazy, like what you eating dinner at like 6:30 or whatever, or depending on when you go to bed, I suppose. I'm going to bed quite early. But yeah, it's a huge game changer. You don't have your body's not focusing on trying to digest that food. It's already done that, and it has improved my sleep so much. So, and like I think we all know this. We were bringing up a few things that like everyone kind of knows. Everyone wants to be healthier, like cooking with non-stick pans, like making sure your air is pure. Like these things just make sense if you want to look after yourself. But and they're so easy to do. It's like the low-hanging fruit, but everyone just doesn't do them as much as we should, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm going to have to tend to agree with you there. I think that is an excellent one, and I'm going to use the same one as you. There's nothing worse than eating. I mean, we all have busy days, but there's nothing worse than eating at like 8 p.m. and you're still full, and then you jump into bed, and then you just roll around. And then it creates that little bit of extra anxiety knowing that you have a big thing or big task or a big day the next day. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that small habit is one that we can both agree on, eating within 3 hours of going to bed. Let's go into question number 5. Okay, so we're going to switch it up a bit and look sort of into the mindset models that we've learned in the last year that have really made an impact on our lives. So let's go. Um, what's a mental model or perspective shift that changed the way you think about work or life?
So this one could be considered slightly controversial, but it's my relationship with money. Um, it's been a slow process because I've been in a scarcity mindset with money growing up. That's how I was raised. It's how I view money, or used to view money. And over, I'd say, the last 6 or 7 years, I've slowly changed that perception, and it's kind of been supercharged in the last year, like working with guys in Dubai, seeing how they make money, their relationship with money. And it's kind of a perspective that money is in abundance. You've just got to go out and get it. You're in full control of making and creating wealth. No one else is going to do it for you. And so that's been a big shift for me, that like it's purely on me. Um, if you have skills or services that people want, and they want them really badly, then you can charge money for them. And like in addition to that is, it's also that depends on the market that you go after. Like you've got skills in high demand. I think Alex Hormozy talks about this quite often. Like if you provide the same service to, say, a university student, and it's a time management tool, they will pay like $30 a month for that. Um, and that might include some coaching or something like that. But if you level up to someone who has more income, they value their time more. So this time
Mm.
management tool now has automatically more value. It's the exact same thing, but now it has
Mm-hmm.
automatically more value to that market. And if you
Mm-hmm.
level up again, where what do they say? Elon Musk has like 30 minutes of his time is worth like $25 million or billion. I don't know. So it's something crazy, $25 million an hour or something. And so he has all his team members there on a meeting. You have 30 minutes to pitch them. They're making a decision right there and then. Like you can't waste his time. He's only going to take meetings that he considers worth 25 million. So those are the people you should be selling to. I know it may seem like easier said than done, but if you reframe like how you position your product or service, what you do, and you target people who are willing to pay that amount because they value their time way more than a university student, you can sell that same product for $10,000. And
Yeah.
so that's been a mindset shift, is that like it's the market you go after and just getting the skills that people are willing to pay for. And with AI and the way sort of the working world is evolving and changing at the moment, I think you need to be equipped with the skills that, and equipped with the possibility that you may be out on your ass, and you may have to sink or swim and come up with your own ways to make money. So I think it's always useful to keep learning and keep building on that sort of skill stack.
Yeah, that is an excellent one. Me and you have both had a scarcity mindset. In fact, I still struggle with it today. I'd love to get some tips on you and how you've kind of like broken free from that, because even today it's still something that I grapple with. But in terms of mine, I would say, and also just to touch on what you said about the Elon Musk's time and the value of a product in a different space. A great analogy of that is if you look at like a water bottle in a supermarket, it's worth
Oh yeah.
$1, $2. And then you look at a water bottle in an airport, an international airport, it's worth, I don't know, you could probably pay $10, $15 for a water bottle. And it's all about positioning. It's all about positioning the product. So if it's not working in one market or one place, or it's not valued by someone in that specific area or place, it's good to maybe, test other markets. My
Yeah,
one
exactly.
is a mental model, and the perspective shift is about life. And it's basically, it's two reframes, and they're two words. And the first one is get. So we all face life's challenges. And I mean, training for the Ironman, training for the High Rocks, like there's been mornings where you get up and you're just like, I do not want to do this session. I just don't want to do it. The body's sore. You haven't slept well. And if you just reframe with any challenge in your in your life, if you just reframe rather than I have to do this, and you reframe it to I get to do this. Because if you think about it, like I get up almost every morning to train, and some of those days I get to run. There are people out there who cannot run anymore. They don't get to do that. They don't even have the opportunity to do that, right? I can go to a gym and I can afford to pay for a membership. You have people, especially from where we're from, who they don't get to do that. They probably, if they want to do a weight session, some people, they have to pick up, whatever's around them to get the same sort of experience. So one, very grateful for my life, but yeah, just shifting your mind to saying, I get to do this rather than I have to do this was quite powerful. And then the other word is yet. So yet is like, we all have this imposter syndrome of like, I'm not good enough, or you meet someone who's in the same industry, or you make comparisons. And what it does is it creates negative thought patterns. But if you reframe that and say like, I can't do this, don't like the word can't, but I'll use it in this example. So for example, I can't do this. I can't create an app, for example. Let's just use that as an example. As soon as you reframe that and you say, I can't create an app yet, it completely shifts your frame of mind, because then it allows you the space without, putting yourself down, to be able to develop the skills in order to reach the goal of actually creating an app. So for me personally, those two words have been massive in just reframing the way that I think
Those
in the
are
last
great.
year.
Yeah, I've also incorporated those two. They're like, when you do or use those words or reframes often enough, it kind of just becomes part of your natural
Yeah,
way of thinking.
100%.
Um, so yeah, I really like those. And one other one that I'd add, which kind of hit home more recently for me, was uh, asking yourself when you're making some big decision, it's asking yourself what would make the better story. Um,
Love that.
there's two actually that recently came to mind. So yeah, the first one, what would make the better story? Because I think it makes life seem like it's a lot shorter. It is one story. You've got one shot. You want to look back on your life and be like, shit, I took those risks. I made those big decisions. And it was an interesting life, and I don't really regret anything. Whereas if you stay stagnant for too long and you're looking back and it's like, shit, I should have made that leap. Like, there's already one aspect of my life where I feel like I should have moved on and taken a leap sooner, and I didn't. And so that's kind of scarred me in a way to make decisions faster, more frequently, and just ask myself what would make a more interesting story. And the second one, Sahil Bloom, like we said earlier, these guys who just release a book are going on these podcast tours. So I've heard him say this a few times now, but they asked a bunch of students if they would swap lives with Warren Buffett and get his $95 billion or whatever it is. And almost all of them said no. And so that shows that these students value their life more than $95 billion. So why are you just sitting on your ass and doing nothing about it? If you value your life as not worth $95 billion, like, you should act that way, act accordingly. And so that's also a nice reframe and a reminder that I just like keep telling myself, motivate myself to sort of take action, do more, because like, hey, if this life is worth that much to you, then you should be striving to make it worth that much.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, one more thing with regards to comparison, because when you compare, maybe your mate's doing better than you're like, oh, I'm not quite there yet, whatever. If you ask yourself the question, would I want to trade lives with this person in the same sense of like the Warren Buffett one? That means that you would have to be this person for 24 hours a day, 24/7, 365 days a year. If the answer is no, there is no point in being jealous or comparing yourself to this person. Because if you don't want to fully be who they are, then the comparison is completely irrelevant. It just completely reframed the way that I think about getting upset or comparing myself to people, because I actually am completely happy with my journey. So that was a big one for me, just to add to those two.
Yeah. And comparison for me, I've also reframed it as a motivator. And look at people who are achieving things and being like, shit, well, I'd like to do that. I want to do that. And you also realize, like, a lot of people you're comparing yourself to aren't particularly special. And it's been really interesting, like working with, running my podcast and chatting to so many successful people. I don't mean this in any like disrespectful way, but like a lot of them would say it themselves that like they're nothing special. They wouldn't call themselves super intelligent, but they're worth millions of dollars because they just flex that muscle of taking action. And that's the only differentiator. And so that's been a great reminder to me. It's like I can see what people very similar to me have achieved. And so why haven't I achieved that? And it's more just a reframing in terms of keeping me motivated rather than comparing and feeling shit. Because there's no point in feeling shit about comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, they're just ordinary people taking action. And also a lot of them, you might find some of the time that a lot of them are not even as happy as they may appear.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next one. Have you found a way to turn everyday frustrations into gratitude triggers?
Yeah, this may seem like a weird one, but it's basically reinforcing a behavior I have. So when something trivially frustrating happens, like you drop something on the tube, your phone falls out of your hand, you trip on a step and feel embarrassed in front of people, like those small things, I smile about it because there's no point in getting frustrated or ruining your day. So I smile in those moments to remind myself that it's not a big deal. And then to reinforce that, I pay attention to when that happens to others around me. And when they get frustrated, I smile again, knowing that like my mental clarity and health is a lot better for it because I could be in that position. So it's maybe it's comparing again, but yeah, I just pay attention to that. So if someone's like, oh fuck, and they're getting angry with something or like tripping over something or bumping into someone and they're really annoyed about the situation, I kind of just smile to myself and be like, I'm so glad like I don't get annoyed by that stuff, because it's so pointless. It can ruin your day. It can really affect you, and it's like it achieves absolutely nothing. Same with like traffic, as an example.
Yeah.
People get so pissed off in traffic, but like the person right in front of you isn't the cause of the traffic. You don't really know what the cause is. And getting frustrated with people pushing in front of you and doing all that shit. Like everyone's trying to get somewhere and maybe they have a reason, but like for you to sit in your car all angry for half an hour to an hour is like pretty pointless. Just enjoy yourself, put a podcast on and like enjoy the
Yeah.
ride.
I love that one. And I love that one because recently I've kind of realized that you get to choose how you respond, but you also get to choose how you feel. So what I mean by that is like, as I'm going to say, as I'm getting older or maturing, I realize like you can choose to let that ruin your day. And it's, and I want to like sympathize with people as well, because I'm obviously, I haven't fully grasped this concept because there are things that still annoy me. So I can relate to people, but when you do let things annoy you and you're in that like loop or you're in that moment, I know how hard it is to be able to let it go or to not let it get you down or, to move on from it. But what I've realized like recently is that you get to choose how you feel. So you can choose to allow that to annoy you. You can choose to be sad. You can choose to be happy. And it's like just that reframe. It's taken a lot of work, but it's been massive for me. Um, but my one would probably be, it's a question actually. So to turn any sort of frustration or any bad situation into a gratitude trigger. And there's nothing that frustrates me more than incompetency or waiting on other people. I'm sure you've worked in an organization where you've worked with other people, and in order to get the task completed, you have to get X, Y, or Z from this person before. There's a lot of moving parts. Things like that really frustrate me. Or like when something bad happens in your life, like God forbid you lose your pet. Okay. I ask myself the question, how is this the best thing that has happened to me? And what that does is that switches your brain into basically gratitude. So, for example, you're in like your example in the traffic, you're waiting there, you're frustrated, you want to you want to just, blow up in anger. But if you ask yourself, well, how is this the best thing that's happened to me? I don't know. You could say it's teaching me patience, for example. That's just a really simple answer. So, in any bad situation or frustrating situation in my life, I found that question quite powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. All these reframes are really great. And you mentioning like you're in control of your happiness and how you feel and you decide to feel that way. That's huge in like Stoic philosophy, and that played a big role in my life, like just out of university, I think. So yeah, I really resonate with that philosophy. And it, like you said, it does take a lot of work. It's not easy. You don't just flick a switch and be like, okay, I'm not angry anymore. But if you work on it and you notice it and make a concerted effort to change the way you think, I mean, it's like night and day. You have so much more mental clarity. Like frustration and anger and stuff doesn't take any mind share. So yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone who's sort of getting frustrated on a daily basis. Um, Sweet. Next one is, what's one past failure or problem that in hindsight was actually a good thing?
For me, I mean, I have a couple, but I'd say starting a business and falling flat on my face. I kind of just quit my job and just jumped off a cliff and thought it would all be, smooth sailing. And obviously that is not the case when starting a business. So that was massive for me. It was a massive failure, and it's been really, really good because not only did I discover that starting a business is extremely hard every single day, but what it also helped me realize is it's not all that. And what I mean by that is like, yes, I still have ambition. Yes, I would still like to have my own business, but it's not what made out to be. You see all the people super successful, multi-millionaires, but what you don't see is the blood, sweat, and tears that goes in at the back end. All the late nights, the long working hours, dealing with clients, dealing with customers, having a family, then trying to fit in your personal life into all of that. Like, it is a lot. So that's been massive for me. It's taught me that, like, it's okay to just have the job and use that to basically just get through life and then focus on what you love to do on the side. Another thing I'll add to that is that there is no easy way and there is no short way. If it is short and if it is easy, it's 90% of the time either a scam or they are making money off you. You are the product. Because I've bought heaps of courses. I've bought some stuff online in order to, like, develop skills. And to be honest, a lot of them, almost all of them, have not delivered in any way, shape, or form. So it's taught me heaps. I'm sure there's a lot more other reasons I can go into about how it's kind of like changed my perspective and how it's been a good thing. Another thing is it's really helped me realize that in this life, I want to build a life by design rather than default. So by jumping off the cliff and starting a business has also shown me that it is possible to do that. And now that I've taken that risk, I now have found like a really good balance in my life where I am doing the work at work and it's paying me my income salary, and that gives me the safety that I need. But at the same time, I am now working, after hours on my side hustle, and really enjoying that. And it's just finding that happy medium, which I really struggled with before after a long day's work. It was either one or the other. So yeah, starting a business is flat out. And because you're working long hours, it's like the goalposts move, so you start working longer hours. And now, like, I finish a work day and I'm like, well, I've had a crack at starting a business before. Usually I'd finish at 7, 8, 9 p.m. So it's just flexed that muscle of moving the goalposts and allow me to expand my capacity in terms of work.
What
How about
was
you?
what was the business that you tried to start?
Well, I still have it, to be honest, but it's just not doing as well as you anticipated, which is business in any nature. And it's a publishing company in the UK. And yeah, still have it. The business is still registered, but not currently giving it as much time as I was before, because it's another big lesson from that is going into an industry that's not fully aligned with what I want to do or where I want to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. So mine, it's kind of like a pattern that's repeated itself a few times in my life, and that is giving sort of authority figures more power over my life and how I feel. So the most recent example was not getting on with the boss, and I really enjoyed the work, but I just didn't get on with them, and so I decided to leave. And at the time, it felt like quite a tough decision, and quite a like hurtful decision in a way. Like, I thought he'd want to keep me around a bit more because of the impact I'd had on the business, but that wasn't the case. But now looking back, that was the best decision I'd made. It's reinforced my beliefs. Like, it also happened at high school and stuff, and it's like reinforced my beliefs that like being around toxic people is never a good idea. It's never the solution. And although, yeah, people may not always have the luxury of being able to leave and go to another job, I think you should plan your exit as quickly as possible to go work at a place where you're surrounded by people that you resonate with, that you really enjoy, and that you don't feel like they're having a negative impact on your mental health. So yeah, that's been a big one for me. And next one is, how do you make sure you're focusing on effectiveness rather than just being busy?
You touched on this earlier, and it's to do your top 3 tasks of the day. And I've actually written this in my newsletter, and it's a very, very well-known concept. Eat that frog. It's basically
Yeah.
do your biggest task first. So eat that frog. Nobody wants to eat a frog. It's horrible. They actually eat frogs here in Vietnam, but they cook them first. But even I don't like eating frogs. So eat that frog basically is just a concept of basically do the most difficult thing first that would get you move the needle basically. And another one is the 80-20 rule, which is basically like doing 20% of the tasks that'll get you 80% of the results. So an example of this is like on a Sunday, you might chat to someone and they're like, "Oh, I've been doing this all day. I've cleaned the apartment all day. It took me, 8 hours to clean the apartment." And what they've done is they're like, I've been so busy, but actually you've made yourself busy, but you haven't been effective. And there's a massive difference between the two. What have you got done? You've cleaned your apartment. Had you, and I'm going to say, for example, they needed to write a proposal for work for the next day, but they're leaving it till the Monday. So in those two scenarios, what you've done is you've cleaned your apartment, but had you had spent an hour on the proposal and got it done, that is the 20% that would have got you that much further going into the next week. So I feel like those two for sure, eat that frog, and the 80-20 rule. Another example would be like fitness. Do the exercises, the hardest exercises. Like, I don't know if you're trying to strength train compound lifts like deadlifts, squats, bench, that are going to give you 80% of the results, So make sure you're doing those ones with the best form, with the correct weights, to get you the results that ultimately you need to get. How about you?
100%. Mine's very similar. So I no need to waffle that much. I just add to the eat the frog concept, in the sense that a lot of the time it's also used in climbing the sort of work or corporate ladder, where if you eat the frog for the person you work for or your manager, they're going to love you for it. And so it's a great way in a
Nice.
workplace to just think, what is that one task that my boss or my manager would love to get off their plate, and do that. And that will enable you to make the biggest impact in the workplace. They'll notice it and they'll love you for it. And so, yeah, don't do busy work, do the difficult things for the people above you, and you will climb a lot faster.
Yeah. Another thing, just to touch on that, is if you do that as well. So say there's a problem, or say something didn't work really well, write feedback on this is the problem. Provide the solution, rather than just say this is the problem, what we're going to do. Or if something didn't go well, evaluate, reflect, write what happened, and say in the future this could be done. These are possibilities. I think we should do it this way. That's also super, super valuable.
Yeah.
Next question. What's the I love this because it's AI. You'll probably have more experience in this than me, but what's the best way you found to learn something new using AI?
Oh, wow. Like, there's so many cool tools popping up every single day. And firstly, I'd say to anyone, like, if it ties into your industry, even vaguely, like, just mess around with it. Pay the $20 a month for 1 month, and like, just see if you can figure it out and have some fun. See if you can get some interesting outcomes. Like, there's no harm in doing that. Like, if you're watching a movie on the weekend, like, just replace that with messing around with the AI. It surprisingly can be equally as fun. It doesn't feel like work. And so the ones I've been messing around with in particular, well, there's two, but the one is like a stack of 3 tools. And so it's building applications, like web applications that are specifically tailored to what you want to do. So, an example of, I used to work at a personal branding agency, and so I knew the ins and outs of like client relationships, client management, the whole sort of workflow and process. And so I'm busy building out a tool that has a client-facing dashboard and interface and a agency-facing interface, where on the agency side, the owner of the business can take a look at like how all the employees are performing, whether they're meeting their KPIs, how the content of the clients are performing, if anyone's falling behind, if any client relationships are at risk, all of that stuff. And it all links to databases, and it works as like a fully functioning tool, but you can make it completely customizable. And so the tools that you'd use in that instance are something called V0, which will code a front end for you. And you'd get all your help from ChatGPT or Claude. You just go back, prompt it, you tell it exactly what you're doing, what you want to achieve, and it can write the code for you. Or V0 can write the code for you, and then you copy that and you paste it in a thing called Replit, which is has an agent that helps you code. And you just speak natural language to it, and it'll code this out all for you. And so Replit will be like the code base, V0 will be the front end, and then you have something called Superbase, which is the back end, which is all your databases, where it'll track all the data, collect all the data, and you use Replit to connect Superbase and V0, connect them together, and you have a fully functioning tool that's customized to you. And that may sound complicated and scary. So a simpler example that I've seen some guys use is like a pull-up tracker. They want to improve their health, so they're building an app that tracks their pull-ups. And so every day they get a notification, how many pull-ups did you do today? They fill it in, and it creates a graph, and it'll track how many pull-ups you're doing and whether you're improving or not. And you can add features and functions as you go. But it doesn't need to be too complicated, but it's just understanding that like you can use natural language to build customizable tools now. The barrier to entry is really low. It may seem scary, but it's actually not that scary. And if you run into an error, you just copy that error in and ask the agent, hey, I ran into this error, and I'll fix it for you. So that's the one. And the second one, another AI tool, is Gemini, which is created by Google. It has a video viewing functionality. So I see YouTube tutorials kind of changing because this will get rid of all of them. So if you don't know how to use Photoshop, for example, you open Gemini, you start recording your screen, and you talk to it how you would. It connects to your microphone, and you just tell it exactly what you want to do. Hey, I want to remove the background from this image, and it'll tell you, you go to this, click there, follow these steps, click this. If you want to refine the mask, you can move these sliders, and I'll speak you through the whole process and watch you do it. And if you do it wrong, I'll say, no, wait, go back. You did this wrong. Undo that last bit. And it's just watching your screen. And so this can be for anything. If you want to learn how to improve your SEO, if you want to learn how to run Facebook ads, you turn Gemini on and be like, okay, we're setting up a campaign that wants to do X, Y, and Z in Facebook and Meta ads. How do I do it? And I'll talk you through it step by step. You can tell it to go as fast or as slow as you want, depending on your level. And it blows my mind that these tools are available. It's like you can learn and do basically anything now. It's like there's no barrier.
Yeah, 100%. Mine is super. Just to touch on that, I mean, I'm gonna have to re-listen to this podcast to try and absorb exactly what you said with your first tool, because I think that's super powerful. And like you said, it's complicated, but I'm sure there's a really simple way to do that. With mine's super simple, but it's any question, anything I want to know, any learning I do in my life now, I just hit ChatGPT and I say, explain this to me like a 5-year-old. And it just completely dumbs down and breaks down concepts, even complex concepts, and uses like really good analogies to teach you. And I know there's another, obviously the structure is based off the Chris Williamson podcast, but they talk about a semantic tree, which is basically teach me this concept as a semantic tree from the ground up. So it teaches you like from the roots, And then up to it's basically scaffolds it for you in a way that's really easy to understand. So those two, whichever one works for you, I guess you can choose. But the Teach Me Like a 5-year-old one is just, it's just like a life hack, a game changer one that's been really good for me.
Yeah, that's a great
Alrighty.
one. And that's
Yeah.
also a measuring stick you should use just in life. If you can't explain a concept that you claim to know to a 5-year-old, then you don't actually know that concept.
Yeah. No, 100%. All right. Next one. Let's have a look. What's a simple automation or digital system that has saved you time or improved your workflow?
So this is a new one, and I've chosen it because of the interface. So there's a few other great ones like Make.com and Zapier, where you connect multiple apps to it, and so you can get it to like, hey, look through your emails, delete all the emails that have the word unsubscribe in them, star all the other emails that you think are important, and you can just get it to do that for you. You can also create content workflows where you can say, watch this video, create a transcript from it, then use the transcript to create 5 TikTok video scripts, also write a LinkedIn post and a newsletter for me. And you can create these flows that automatically do all these tasks for you, which just increases
Unreal.
your output. And so, but my favorite one at the moment is Gumflow. It's a new one made by these young guys, and it's similar concept. It just creates a flow, but it has a really intuitive interface. So, and it connects to any app you can really think of. So Gumflow is my favorite at the moment because you can create those flows and create really interesting automations that just make your life so much easier. And it can apply to any aspect of your life. And so I think it's worth anyone looking into like what do I do online that takes up quite a lot of time that could be automated, and it's worth looking into because it probably can be automated in some way.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to look into that. So I don't actually have one, to be honest, but I do have one, but I haven't used it. And it's an app called Buffer. And basically it is an app that allows you to post across multiple social media platforms using one app. And
Yeah.
there was that podcast on the Diary of a CEO talking about how you should be on 4 different platforms and you should have this many pieces of content, and people need to engage with your content a certain number of times to become familiar with you so that you become credible in their eyes, et cetera, et cetera. So Buffer is one that I want to experiment with, but I think based on what you've just told me, I might just need to jump onto your one and see if I can create workflows and maybe posts and stuff just using that. So yeah,
Well,
I don't actually have.
sorry to
I don't.
interrupt.
All
But
good.
the workflow thing is more for output rather than but so then the way that it'll work is you would then connect Buffer at the end of that workflow.
Okay.
And so
I
it would
see.
create all the content for you and say, then part of that workflow is post 5 tweets a day and schedule them in Buffer. Then you'd connect Buffer to the end of that workflow. So once the tweets are approved or whatever flow you want, it'll just automatically then schedule them. So they kind of work in tandem. But yeah, like scheduling software just helps your output so much and helps you stay on track because it's so much easier to sit down for like an hour and whack out a whole lot of content. But then you don't want to be jumping on the platform every day at a certain time to post. It's a lot easier if you just know that it's posted and then you just jump on in the comments if there are any.
Massive. Love that. Thanks for sharing, mate.
Awesome. And next one is switching over to a bit of health and wellness. What's a fitness or health hack that has helped you stay in shape or feel better?
I'm so glad we're switching over to some health and fitness. I'm absolutely on the health and fitness buzz at the moment. And I mean, the good old fashioned ones are obviously meal prepping, which is massive, man. Like it saves me so much time throughout the week. And coupled with that is eating the same meal. So like I meal prep the exact same meal from Monday to Friday and I eat the exact same thing. And then what I'll do is I'll cook all my veggies on the Sunday and I'll keep them in the fridge. And when I get home from work, the only thing I have to do is cook a protein, so a steak or a piece of fish or chicken. I can just buy a roast chicken from the supermarket, and that has really saved me a lot of time coming home. But I'd say like the best one in terms of health and fitness is creating an Excel spreadsheet with a day-to-day workout program, because I found in the past, like going to the gym, and then people can probably resonate with this. If you go to the gym without a plan, you're gonna muck around. You're not gonna get as much done. It's not gonna be as productive. But if you write yourself out, like, this is what I'm gonna do on this day, like, and so Monday's a push day, for example, and you've got all the workouts, or I've got to do interval running, and these are my intervals, and it's planned and it's there. Not only does it give you the relief of having to worry about planning a workout, it keeps you accountable. And it's really, really been a game changer for me. And I've only learned this through obviously all of the competitions that I've recently done in the last 2-3 years. But I think it's massive, and it's really simple to do. You just need a simple table with a Monday to Friday, and then like maybe some tabs on the side, with if you're doing morning, afternoon sessions, and then just put your sessions in all of the Excel, the spreadsheets. Another way I do it is if I have like a 3-4 month program to build for the Ironman, I'll have my days at the top, so Monday to Sunday, and then down the side I'll have my weeks, just the first date of each week, and then you just put in all your workouts there. And obviously it can be edited, it can be modified, it can be altered to how you're feeling, but it's been an absolute game changer in terms of relief about having to worry about what I need to do, and just getting stuck in, taking action and getting after it. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, those are great. I also meal prep and eat the exact same thing for lunch and dinner every day of the week. Which people also find a bit crazy. Also, when I used to go into the office, people like just see the same thing every single day, and they'd be surprised every day. And I'm like, but this is not changing. This is so easy. And one for me is like just switching my mindset to being someone who works out every day, like changing my identity a bit. Like I am someone who works out every day. That's just it. But also like within reason, listening to my body. If I'm not feeling great, like it's okay. But yeah, it's now part of my routine. I wake up in the morning and I go to gym. It's not like a debate. It's not like, oh, I'm super tired. It's just you get up and you go. And when you do that for long enough, it just becomes natural. You don't really question it. It's not a debate anymore, an internal debate, which is great. But what is still an internal debate is the amount of running I do. I'm still working on that. I've never been a keen runner, and so I'm trying to figure that out, because it's also like a schedule thing where I feel like the afternoons are a bit harder to do a workout if you worked out in the morning, because like shit happens, things come up, and so it's a lot easier to wiggle out of like an afternoon run than a morning gym session. And so yeah, I'm working on the running bit at the moment.
Yeah, I know running's never easy. I don't think anyone likes running, but just to touch on what you were saying, like that mental mindset. And again, I want to sympathize with people who want to get fit, but it's really hard to. What Byron just said is super powerful, because you have to almost envision yourself of being that person. I am fit. You shift your identity. You become that person. I am a fit person. And that really helps to just shift the way you take action. But then obviously it's repetition, right? It's reps. So you need to first envision yourself being that person. But then what you need to do after that is you actually need to get up and start doing it. And then it just becomes a way of life. Like I'm exactly the same now. I struggle if I go a day without working out. But I am still grappling with letting myself rest when my body is saying no. Like I'm still grappling with that. Because again, with the schedule thing, I like to tick boxes. So if I miss a workout, I'm like, oh, I didn't hit this on the program. But what I've learned is what's more beneficial is to take the rest. because if the body needs the rest is just as important as training.
100%.
All right, Byron, next one. What's a small tweak you've made to your diet or sleep that has had an outsized impact in your life?
Mine's the trifecta of sleep, which is sleep with a nose strip, earplugs, and an eye mask. Those together have made a crazy impact on my sleep. I'm quite a sensitive sleeper, so if someone's moving around or closing a door or something, I instantly wake up with the earplugs. That gets rid of that. I'm also a very sensitive sleeper and sensitive to light. So as soon as the sun starts rising, I wake up. If I got my eye mask on, that doesn't happen. And I touched on the nose strip before. So yeah, this has helped my sleep so much. And I'd recommend it to anyone. I sort of assume people are as sensitive sleepers as I am, and maybe that's not the case, but like there's no harm. It doesn't negatively affect your sleep in any way. You get used to the eye mask pretty quickly.
Yeah. For me, it would be, again, eye masks. That's a game changer. And I don't know why I didn't do this. I used to actually make fun of wearing eye masks, and it's revolutionary. So I highly recommend that. You've touched on that, so I won't go into that. Room at a low temperature, phone and
That's a
sleep
good
mode.
one.
So like I was talking about those modes, you can put it in sleep mode. 8:30, my phone goes off. But again, just doing that is not going to get you the results. It still requires discipline, because it's so easy for your phone to go into phone mode and for you to just flick it back off phone mode. You still need to have the discipline to be like, okay, now it's gone into phone mode, put it away. And then the last one would be just spacing all of my meals around very high protein. So as long as I have a very, very high protein concentrate in my meals, I am satiated throughout the day. I'm mentally clear. I don't have to eat as much. Obviously, there's all this information coming or research coming out about glucose spikes and stuff. The glucose spikes are not as high. So yeah, protein intake is massive for me, and I've shifted my diets. I've like carbohydrates. I rarely even eat that many like starchy, refined carbohydrates at all. All my meals are basically based around a high protein intake. So that's been a really game changer for me.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
And cool. And the next one is, what daily habit has improved your mental clarity or stress levels?
I mean, obvious one, exercise is just like we just focus every day. But one that I found pretty cool that I don't actually practice every single day, but I did go through stints, is breath work. And there's different, obviously, ways of doing it, but it was really, really good for reducing stress. But from the research that I've done, it's something that you need to do consistently over like a 30-day period to really bring like calm your nervous system. So yeah, it will calm it temporarily during the day and it will help. But if you're doing it consistently over long periods of time, apparently you see magnificent results in your health. So I'd say breath work is a massive one, and I won't get into the details on how to do that because there's so many different ways to do it. But if you just hop onto Google and find like a good breath work exercise of breathing in, holding, breathing out, that would be a one for me. How about you?
Cool. Yeah, breathwork's great. And yeah, like you said, you can just search on YouTube. Search like Wim Hof breathing or breathwork, and you can actually follow along. There's like an animated circle that you breathe in and hold with, or stuff like that. So it's pretty easy to get started. Mine would say also something that I'm not as consistent with recently as I used to be. I used to do it every day, was meditation. I think it really helped me out when I first started doing it. It helped with like mental clarity and stuff, in tandem with the Stoic thinking. And speaking about it now, I think I need to pick it up. It's coming to mind more frequently now, and I need to pick it up again. But it just helps you focus on the task at hand, doesn't let your mind wander. And so, yeah, I think it's a great habit to try and pick up because it really helped me when I really needed it.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Byron. Okay, moving into the business and career section of our podcast. What's an underrated strategy that you found that helps improve your personal brand or content creation?
One that's really helped me is getting comfortable with sharing your thoughts and practicing speaking to camera more. Um, I think everyone everyone has a personal brand, whether you like it or not. It's inevitable. It's Your personal brand is kind of like what people think about you when you're not in the room. And if you work on it and develop it, then your personal brand is going to do some intros and some of the legwork for you before you even walk into that room for the first time. And so I think it's really important to build your personal brand, to work on it, to create some content. And like, even if you don't blow up or go viral or make money from it, you can learn some amazing skills from it. Like sharing your thoughts and sharing stories and practicing that um, makes you a more interesting person. It equips you with stories for when you're at a dinner party and you've now developed these ideas or thoughts into concise and easy to deliver anecdotes that resonate with people and just makes you a more interesting person. People gravitate towards it. It could lead to opportunities. It could lead to more friendships. So I just think practicing that and sharing stuff is just a useful skill that can be applied to many aspects of your life and not just business. And then the speaking to camera one is something that was like the reason why I started this podcast in the first place, was just practicing, even if no one's seeing it, even if you don't share it. But if you're, what Chris Williamson also says, like, start, even if it's a fake podcast with a friend, and you sit down like we're doing once a week and you chat on a specific topic for 30 minutes. You're going to refine your thoughts and ideas on that topic, but you're also going to watch yourself back and be like, holy shit, I say the word way too many times, or I fumble over my words, or I couldn't deliver that idea in the best way possible. I need to work on that. And that's actually happened while we've been recording this. There's a few concepts and ideas that I wanted to share my thoughts on, but I didn't deliver it in the best, most concise way that I actually wanted to. And I'm like, shit, I need to give that concept or thought a bit more, that concept or idea a bit more thought, so I can actually deliver it in a way better way. Because if I'm fumbling around speaking for 2 minutes when I could have said it in 20 seconds, like, why do I need to do that? So yeah, that's that. My voice is breaking, but yeah, those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. There's a few things that I wish I could dive into a bit more. Can you what was your first one again?
It was just sharing your thoughts, like getting comfortable with sharing your thoughts
Yeah.
publicly.
So and building a personal brand, right? That's massive. Just touching on what you were saying there in terms of like going to parties and stuff and developing skills, especially. Like if you think about what we're doing now, like learning podcasting, conversing with people. I mean, you're speaking to very successful, very insightful people every day. You're picking up cues, you're picking up knowledge, you're picking up language, you're picking up all of these things from these people. So not only are you learning, and if you look at the skills of editing, you're looking at the skills of writing. Obviously, we both have a newsletter. You're looking at the skills of what am I thinking? So you got speaking, you got writing. You're looking at the skills of developing social media content. Like these are so many different useful skills that you can use. And then obviously integrating now with AI is just like it's epic, man. So I also highly recommend developing a personal brand. And you're 100% right. Everybody has one. Mine would be um, making content around what you're doing, which is obvious, but using stuff that you learn from other people and then give it your own spin on it. So what I mean is, like, say I learn a concept from Sahil Bloom. I dissect it, rewrite it in my own words for my audience, but give credit. So by giving credit, it not only gives them credit, but it also gives your work credibility. Another thing is like, I've been creating a lot of reels because we're training for the High Rocks, and like, I'm absolutely loving it. But I'm also creating reels about recovery. I'm also creating reels about I mean, I went to a smoothie shop that's in our area the other day, and everybody goes there and they have great smoothies. And obviously for the nutrition aspect, I make a reel for them and then tag them in that. And like, look, granted, they didn't share that particular reel, but a lot of the time what you'll find is that people will actually share the content that you tag, because not only does it build their brand, but by building their brand, you're also building your brand. And again, building credibility in your own personal brand. So for me, it would definitely be making content around other people in that sort of aspect, which I
Yeah.
felt, yeah, that's really cool.
I agree. And what's actually quite interesting is like the people focusing on it or trying to build some sort of personal brand or some sort of online presence understand the game, and they're more supportive in that sense. Like they'll throw a like your way or add a comment because
100%.
takes
Networking.
it takes very little legwork, but you understand when you're doing it that like that little action actually goes a long way for that piece of content. And I think people from the outside who aren't really focused on it don't realize that. Um, and yeah, they don't realize the impact they could have on like a friend's social media presence by just giving it a like. It literally means basically nothing to you. Um, but it means so much to that piece of content because it's going to get shown to more people. And like the big ones are shares and saves. So, like, if you want to support your friend who's creating content, just share it. You can share it and click copy link, and it'll still count as a share, but you don't need to share it with anyone. And then you can
Really?
save
I
it.
didn't know that.
Yeah, you can save it and then go through your saves if you don't want it in your saves, but like no one really organizes their saves or gives a shit. So hit a save, and those two, especially on Instagram, are worth way more than a like or a comment. So if you want to support your friends, hit a share, hit a save, and yeah, you'll help that piece of content grow way more.
Byron, that is a golden nugget. I did not know that, because people have this fear of sharing content because they're scared of what people might think of them. We all have
Yeah,
this fear, right? So that's why people don't share content. Because they're like, well, if I share this guy's content, it might portray a bad image of me. But that is a golden nugget. The fact that you can just copy, link, and save, and it actually it helps with the algorithm. I love that. Thanks for sharing, mate.
sure, no worries. Sweet. So jumping on to the next one. It's kind of tying up our discussion, and it's although it's a bit late in the new year, but I was wondering if you ever set any uh, New Year's resolutions, either this year or just in general, that you've actually stuck with.
Yes. So I actually have written a workbook, which I'm currently finishing, that has all of these little frameworks and stuff that have literally completely changed my life in the last 2 years. And this is one of them, which is having a vision board. And on that vision board, I have like all of the things I want to do for the year. And in the book, I go into detail of how to do it and like how to break it down. But one of the things on that vision board was 6 months sober from alcohol. And this one I did stick to, and I traveled the whole world, and I met up with lots of friends, and like, to be honest, after like, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, to be completely honest. And it's completely changed my life. And I know you can resonate with this and you can touch on this, because you've been sober for a long time. But basically, it's changed my relationship with myself, which has just had a complete ripple effect on my life. Like, energetically, the energy that I'm putting out is attracting things and people to my life so organically and so naturally. Like just the flow of my life is just so much better. Waking up with that clarity every day. Now, I didn't give up with the intention of giving up alcohol indefinitely, but I just wanted to hit that goal, because it was time, I think, in my life to do that. So it's completely changed my relationship with alcohol. And I will probably drink again, every now and again, and have a few beers. But if anyone is grappling with, I don't know, making bad decisions, letting themselves down because of decisions they've made, or maybe they don't even, maybe they have a good relationship with alcohol. I highly recommend just taking a little bit of a detox, taking a little bit of a break, taking a step back, zoom out, have a look at how it's impacting your life. And the last 6 months has really, really allowed me to do that. And I think that the longer that you do stay sober, the bigger and the more that the positive effects compound. So I don't know. That's been huge for me, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about giving up alcohol.
Yeah. Well, I haven't drank for over 5 years now, and now it's just sort of like, the norm. Don't even consider it. But
Yeah.
I really noticed the impacts when I first started, like the mental clarity, the motivation, the self-respect, um, all of that stuff. And now I'd say I'm just more at a point where I'm like in tune with my body. So if I have a problem, or like say something's wrong with my stomach, or I have a headache, or some part of my body is aching, like I'm fully in tune with that. Like I understand exactly where that pain or hurt is coming from. Where I found like when I was drinking, it was kind of a mush. Like I felt shit, but I didn't really know where it was originating from. I didn't really know how to fix it. Whereas now I know exactly what the issues are, whether it's something worth going to see a doctor about, or whether it's something like I need to just stretch and improve my flexibility. But like, yeah, I think that's one thing that's really helped. And then in terms of like the work and motivation and stuff, it's like I don't have any brain fog. Like I woke up, rolled out of bed, and got on this call Saturday morning. Like if I was drinking, I'm not too sure if I would have been able to do that.
No
Um,
chance.
and so yeah, I've loved it. I think it's been the perfect thing for me at the stage I was at in my life, and I'm not too sure if I'll ever go back, but uh, yeah, I don't think I'll ever drink to get drunk ever again. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And you're okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't
Nick.
mention I didn't
Yeah,
mention
yeah,
my points.
yeah.
Uh, but I didn't have any, particular ones this year, but some great ones that I did take up, in previous years were, like, reading every day. Even if it was just 1 page, it was just getting in that habit every night of reading every single day. I did that for a year, and also setting long-term goals, like, for a resolution, it's stick to it for a long period of time. That's like,
Yeah.
and all of these things I did for 1 year and then reevaluated whether I wanted to stick to it. So it is reading every day, posting a blog or a newsletter every week. I did the blog for a year, did a newsletter for a year, posting 3 photos a week when I wanted to improve my photography, and posting a podcast episode every week. Those are just goals that I set that were kind of attainable but difficult. And when you start the flywheel, particularly the ones where you're posting things out in public, it's more just like, just get it done. Sometimes done is better than nothing. And so even if it's a bit shitty or you're not super proud of it, it's more about staying consistent, because you'll learn a lot about it, even if it's your time management and why you weren't able to get a good um, edition or episode out that you are proud of. It's just staying with that consistency, I think, is the more important muscle to be flexing.
Yeah. And something that I actually learned from you in the last time we spoke was just that, like, I also pride myself on being disciplined and showing up, but sometimes you don't always do that because you don't feel like it. And something that you said to me really resonated with me was that you owe it to yourself. So we both trying to build these brands, and not everyone's going to like your stuff. Sometimes you get 0 likes on a post, and sometimes I can be like, oh, I spent 3 hours on this and I got 0 likes. But when you said to me, you owe it to yourself, that was massive, because every promise that you keep to yourself compounds, just like every promise you break compounds.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
100%.
absolutely love that little nugget from you last time.
Thanks. Yeah, it's
Um,
just it's a self identity thing. Like
Yeah,
the
100%.
more that compounds, the more you believe in yourself and think that like, okay, I am a person who takes action. I am a person who does X, Y, and Z. Like for me, it's the gymming thing. It's like I am a person who works out. Like that's it. And then if the opposite, if you're the person breaking those sort of agreements with yourself, like you don't get out of bed, then you start becoming that flaky person, and yeah, it can really fuck with your head. Like you're just like, shit, I'm just not that guy, even though I want to be.
Yeah, 100%. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. We got 3 more left for you guys. What's the most effective method that you found for actually sticking to your new habits? It's one thing to create a habit, but it's like the New Year's resolutions. What have you done to stick to them?
Yeah. Similar to, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the episode, it's habit stacking. And James Clear touches on it in Atomic Habits. This has been the best tool for me to stick to my habits. And yeah, it's like if you want to pick up flossing, you just floss either before or after you brush your teeth, because you brush your teeth every single day. Um, when I was in the flow of meditating, it would be, I had like a routine, and I'd wake up early enough to get to gym on time and get to work. So I'd set my alarm a little bit earlier, and it would be wake up, brush teeth, journal, meditate, go to gym. And that was like my morning every single day. That was the order I did things in. I woke up with enough time for it, so I wasn't like, oh shit, I'm not going to get to one of these. I knew I had the time for all of them, and I had to get all of them done before I headed off to gym. And then I've started my morning, and I've stacked all those habits. And it has always just helped me stick to habits when I'm doing multiple ones right after one another.
Yeah. And I think for me, so I have 4, and I actually put them in the workbook that I'm working on, but I'm not going to go through all 4 because we'll be here for a long time. But the one that I think is huge is the ABC method. And I first learned this from my best mate when I was drawing up the results for my Ironmans. My first ever half Ironman, he was like, mate, like this is the time you're going for. He said, do an ABC. So basically, A is best case scenario. Like that would be everything went well in the race. You absolutely PB'd. Like B would be like, this is like what you're probably capable of achieving. Like would be like a middle ground. And then C is like minimum, like worst case scenario. And this can be translated into habits and into sticking to habits. Yeah, because basically like, on a day where you've got all these boxes to tick and you've got all these tasks to do, on an A day, you've done everything, you've hit every single marker, and it's absolutely going well. On a B day, you've done pretty much all of the most, again, 80-20%, 80-20 rule. You've done all of the effective tasks that are going to give you the results. And then the C day would be the bare minimum amount of work or things that you can get done in terms of habits that will move the needle forward. And I think by just framing it like that, not every single day is going to be perfect. Like we're humans. Like life happens, So it also helps you show yourself some compassion. When you don't hit that A goal, you have a B and a C to fall back on. So I think in terms of sticking to habits, that's been an awesome one that's worked for me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
And
All right.
I actually
Yep.
don't have one for this one. I'm wondering if you do. But what's your goal setting framework that has worked for you?
Okay, so I'll just go through it. It's also in the book that I'm working on. I think it's just habits goal. It's just the stuff that's really worked for me this last 2 years. But it's basically my 5-step goal setting framework, but it's taken from I've basically modeled it around some of Sahil Bloom's content, and then some of my own stuff that I've learned throughout the last couple of years. And basically, it's like setting yourself one big goal, and then once you have that big goal, it can be ambitious. Then you need it's like people set themselves these goals again, like New Year's resolutions, and then they just fall off the wagon. You have to have a plan in place in order to achieve these goals. So my 5-step framework works like this. You have your own big goal at the top. And then you have checkpoint goals. And these are basically time frame goals, because what doesn't get measured, and if it's not in a time frame, it's not going to get done. So these checkpoint goals would be like, I'm going to use a big goal. I want 100,000 followers on Instagram. My checkpoint goals would be by, say I have almost 2,000 now, right? So say by the end of March, I want 5,000 followers. By June, 8,000. No, I'm not going to get 100 by then. Sorry. By June, 20,000, because obviously exponential curve, right? By September, 60,000, and then by December, for example, 100,000. So once you've got your big goal, you've got your checkpoint goals, but then in order to achieve those checkpoint goals, you then have to break it down even further into daily systems. What are you going to do every single day that is going to tick the box to move the needle forward to get to that big goal? Because that's where people really, really struggle. You have this big goal, but if you don't have the systems in place, you're never going to get there. And then two more concepts that I would add to that is, which is all part of the 5-step framework, is anti-goals. And anti-goals are basically the things that it's all good knowing what you are going to do. So it's good to know that I'm going to post this many reels on that day, and I'm going to like and engage with people on the platform this many times on that day. It's all good to know what you're going to do, but you also need to know what you mustn't do. So by having anti-goals, you write down what you shouldn't do. So yes, I'm not going to get home and scroll on my phone. So you have these anti-goals throughout the day, which also helps you to hit those daily goals, which also helps you obviously to attain the big goal. And then the final one is non-negotiables. And the non-negotiables are the things that you are just not willing to sacrifice in order to achieve this goal. So for example, I will not compromise on my sleep. If I don't hit all my daily systems and all my daily targets, again, going back to the ABC framework. So if I don't hit all my targets, my non-negotiables is I will not compromise on sleep because I value that so much. So if it gets to 9 p.m. and I haven't hit those goals, that's it, laptop shut, and I'll go and I'll hit the sack. And that 5-step framework, I think, is super powerful. I'm still busy putting it together in my book. But yeah, I'm really stoked with it, and it's given me serious direction and clarity. So I hope anyone listening to this, that's helpful in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. I think people set the big hairy goals and don't think twice about breaking it down into smaller digestible chunks. And that's the only way you're actually going to approach it, because when it is a big scary goal, that's all it is. And you don't make steps towards it. But if it's like, okay, what do I need to do today to get towards that year-long goal, it makes it a lot easier. If you break it down, you need, like actionable tasks of posting X amount of times, or following X amount of people, or commenting on X amount of posts, and then it's like slowly gets going and contributes to that goal. Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
All right. No worries.
And
Last one.
Yeah,
Let's go.
last one. If you could pick only one sort of resolution or habit that you wanted to pick up this year, what would it be?
Resolution would be to hit 100% of my goals on the vision board. I only started doing it 2 years ago. I think I hit around 80%. I've obviously modified it and come in with all of these frameworks and systems that I use, and then obviously, hopefully, will help other people to use. And I think I'm on track to hit like 85, maybe 90%. So to hit 100% of the vision board would be huge, and that's obviously what I would love. But life happens, things change. You get redirected. So I would say it would be hitting my savings target, because I don't have it's not that I don't have all the skills. I just don't have the right skills when it comes to the financial area of my life. Again, in the workbook, I split the categories into personal, professional, health, wealth, and finance. And that is one space that I really struggle with. And I'm trying to learn to be better with my money, because no matter how much money you make, if your spending habits and if your financial, basically what you do with your money is bad now, when you become rich, it's not going to change. What you're going to do is, instead of buying just a generic Garmin watch, I'm going to be spending I don't know, $1,000 on a Garmin Phoenix, which is like a really high model. So your spending habits don't change. You just start buying more expensive stuff. So that would be a massive one for me, to just hit my savings targets and just get a better grip on my the financial skills in my life. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Mine would be do a scary thing, was do the scary things every single day. Um, I found like when I'm working towards goals and want to make progress, there's always something that I'm putting off, or something that I feel like I should be doing, but I put it off for a bit longer than I should. And then when I end up doing that thing, it always has it's kind of like the 80-20 principle, like you mentioned. It always has the biggest impact um, on my progress. And so that's something that I want to reinforce. It's like just getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and doing that scary thing every single day, because those are the things that are going to move the needle. And yeah, so that's what I want to just keep doing this year.
Yeah. Have the difficult conversations. I'll add to that.
Yeah,
Have the
100%.
difficult conversations. It'll
Definitely.
change your life.
Definitely.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
This has been great, Byron. Great to
Yeah.
connect. And yeah, I obviously love it, man. I've taken heaps from that. I'm definitely going to be picking your brain about some of those AI tools and workflow tools
Sweet.
in more detail.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll say I've been thinking about maybe doing like a video or two on it, because just from the point of view, like I don't know any more on like coding or developing than the other guy. Like I think I'm starting from the same point as anyone else, and I just want to speak through my thinking, and maybe it'll help some people set up some workflows, because like with this AI, not every, although it seems like everyone's looking at it, everyone isn't actually looking at it yet. And so like if you can 10x your output and get ahead, now is the perfect opportunity to do so. So why not?
Yeah. Can I just throw one more thing in here?
Yeah.
One more question. Is there anything that we've spoken about today, or is there anything that you would like to share that you haven't shared today?
Um, I did like there was a few things that came to mind while we were chatting, but I didn't take note of them, so I can't really remember them at the moment. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna fall back on what I said. Have the difficult conversations, man. Like people shy away from that, and it's not only does it take courage, but by not having the difficult conversations, whether it be with your boss, whether it be with your partner, whether it be something that's lingering, it just builds up toxicity, and it builds up angst, and it builds up. It just sits there, and I think by having those difficult conversations in your life, it opens up space for you to excel in every area.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Well,
it.
yeah, just to end, I just remind everyone, if you're making a tough decision, ask yourself what would make the better story.
That's it. Love
Sweet.
that, mate.
Sweet. Thanks, Nick.
Epic. Cool.
Cheers.
Awesome, Byron. Cheers, eh? Bye.